Hey, and welcome back. So, kind of a nice day today. It's actually kind of hot. Summer is making a comeback for a couple more days here in the Northwoods. And so I thought, why not come out and do a review? It's been a little bit of time. Sorry about that for those of you who watch the videos I make. So today we're going to be doing MacBaren's. I'll hold up another one I have here, one of the older ones. MacBaren's Original Choice. This is a blend that doesn't seem to get as much popularity right now on the web. I don't see too many videos on it. And it is something that I've really fallen in love with. I like this blend a lot. So, backing up a little bit, some housekeeping. Thanks everybody for watching the videos. I appreciate all the kind words. It's been gratifying to see that there's some people who kind of watch what I do and kind of keep track of what I'm doing. That's always kind of a nice touch. Especially one of my longtime viewers and friends through the internet here. I want to give a shout out to Aussie Bulldog, Kevin. Thanks, brother. I appreciate all the kind words. Hope you keep watching. Let me know what you think of this one. But otherwise, again, thanks everybody. I appreciate all the kind words and watching. Today, smoking in my 7LE poker. I could do my takeoff of Northern Bohemian and do the just look at that grain, but pretty pipe. This is the Dolomiti, what do you want to call it, color setup, and it's nice. The poker is very nice. I'm kind of liking this. Not quite a nose warmer type thing, a little bit longer, but smokes well, pretty enough. The burl on it looks good. Nice little pipe. I like it. Kind of feels good in the hand. And I also wanted to do one other thing here, just as a quick throw it in here, and I know this is sort of a jumble of things putting together here. I have discovered, of all things, strangely enough, the real Zippo, I know, discovered, right? Big rock, huh? A real Zippo lighter fluid. I always thought it was kind of hooey, that between the Ronson, they're both made by Zippo. And I thought, whatever, one's one, one's the other. They don't make any difference. I gotta say, the real Zippo stuff does seem to have less odor. I was never really particularly bothered by the scent that came from it. As soon as you light the lighter, you let it sit for a second or two, and then you go ahead and light your pipe. It's just not an issue at all. I've done Zippos for years with cigars, and now with the pipe, and these really work well. They don't burn the burl. You don't have any of the issues of potentially burning through all the other stuff. There's videos out there. I won't go on. But I really like the Zippo. And I gotta say, the Zippo fluid actually seems to work better. I don't know. Doesn't smell as much. A little more money, I guess, than the Ronson stuff. And that isn't held. Not all the stores have it everywhere. But I recommend it for what it's worth if you're using a Zippo. So today, like I said, gonna do the Original Choice. I'm gonna keep this one here, this tin kind of sitting on the side, because I'm having a hard time getting, YouTube when I do the typical kind of standard beauty shot. This doesn't ever seem to end up being captured as the thumbnail. So I don't know why, but suddenly I can't seem to have that happen. So I'm gonna set this right here and have that be there throughout the video. I'll read you the tin note to begin, the tin description here. Original Choice is a result of the MacBaren's Company's 150-year tradition for excellent taste in tobacco. It is made of a blend of Virginia tobacco from North Carolina, burley from Tennessee, and the famous MacBaren Cavendish. Carefully blended, these tobaccos give you a sweet, rounded, and exciting taste. Who's ever going to write one that says it's going to taste like garbage? But anyway, really, really like this stuff. So a little bit of a background on this, and I'll digress a bit, is I tried, as everybody has, Lane Limited 1Q a year and a half or so ago. Everybody seems to think this is really a great tobacco. And I don't tend to do reviews on things that I don't like. So I tried that one, and I didn't really like it. It's very similar once I got the Original Choice. When I first opened the Original Choice, I thought, here we go again. But the Lane 1Q just didn't really, it wasn't my thing. It's a little stronger in the vanilla topping compared to Original Choice. Um, but it was so strongly topped that it just sort of beat the tobacco into submission. And I wasn't as enamored of it. Didn't even get through the whole tin and ended up getting rid of it because it just wasn't my thing. So when I bought the Original Choice, not knowing what this was going to be like, and first opened it up, I thought, oh boy, here we go. Another one I'm not going to like. You know, it's like Coke and Pepsi. They both are colas, but they're different, and it does make a difference. I would say that's what's happened with Original Choice. Let me crack open a jar here that I have of my stuff here. I'll try to show it to you a little bit. Sometimes this doesn't always come out as well as it could. What I want you to kind of, notice is it almost looks like confetti to a certain degree in there. It has these really light-colored, I don't know if those are the Virginias. I'm assuming those are some of the Virginias. Has some of the brown burleys and then the darker Virginia-type flakes, or not flakes, but pieces of tobacco. And then you have some of the black, which is the Cavendish. And so it's really kind of a colorful mix. Visually, it's quite appealing in terms of when you look at it, because you have all of these different mixed colors. And it's a ribbon cut by and large. There's some chunks of it that are a little more rough cut in between, but like most of the MacBaren's, it's mostly, there's a bunch of ribbons and whatnot. It's well cut, comes in the tin a little bit more moist, not overly. I've been getting into a habit of trying to dry my tobaccos a bit before I smoke them, so this is one that sometimes could maybe use a little bit of drying sometimes at the beginning of a tin. I put them in the jar pretty quickly, so usually it stays pretty stable over the life of the time that I have the tobacco. But if you were to keep it in the tin, probably at the beginning it might be a little bit wet, and by the time you get towards the end, it's probably dried off enough that it smokes just fine. It's absolutely smokable when you first get it, like the MacBaren's. That if you've had other ones, they're the same thing. They don't come really sopping wet. There doesn't appear to be any humectant on it. The tobacco is, doesn't have like that sheen or that saturated look sometimes when you have the humectant. So let me do a little bit of a tin note on this, jar note as it may be. So first thing I notice is it's a sweet sort of cocoa chocolatey type scent with I think what I perceive is like malt, a little bit of vanilla in there. But unlike Lane 1Q, you can smell some of the Virginias in there. You still have some of that grassy hay smell from the Virginias in the background. The tobacco isn't completely overdone. It's still there. And that's what happens when you smoke it too. We'll talk about that a little bit later. But it is an aromatic, fully an aromatic, and it's a sweet, again, sort of chocolatey, cocoa, malt. There's a number of things that are mixed in together there. This is one of those ones that, unlike the Danish mixture, which is kind of the dried fruit route of an aromatic, this is more the cocoa, chocolatey, malty, vanilla type thing. This smells like it should be a breakfast food. And this is one of those things that's kind of funny because I've had a few people friends who smoke, or some people at the local cigar and tobacco shop, pipe shop, shout out to Happy Jack's in Laconia. A great place. If you're ever up here in Laconia and the shores of Winnipesaukee, you should make a pilgrimage to Happy Jack's. It's an institution in the local area. And great people. Peter, who owns it, is just a great guy. The people there are awesome. But I've gone in a couple of times with this stuff, and people will smell it, and they're like, what are you smoking there? That just smells great. And I've brought in samples for some of the people who work there, and they smell the tobacco. I've had some friends who have, they'll do a tin note sniff on it, and they're like, wow, that smells fantastic. And the room note is fabulous. It's just awesome. I get nothing but compliments about it. So I've got to say, this is really, if you're in one of those situations where sometimes people don't like the smell of the tobacco, or you're not sure. This is stuff that generally gets me nothing but compliments. Really, really good room note. A sweet, with the aromatic smell, translates in from the tin note to your taste to the room note. Goes through all three of those phases, and it smells really great, tastes really great. It's just, like I said, this has rapidly become just about my favorite tobacco. So I've got a bowl that I had started up here. I'll try to get myself back up and running. So, like all MacBaren's that are a full aromatic, the potential is that, yes, you can get some tongue bite if you smoke it at a fairly rapid clip. Sometimes that's one of those things I struggle with. So this rewards a bit more of a gentle smoking cadence. As I was talking about, the room note on this is great. Generally gets positive comments. It's a sweet, aromatic. The scents translate very much so into the room note, and what you smell, because I've had other people smoking it, and I've come upon them, or walked into the room and they're in there smoking this blend, and you can tell it's this because it's what it smells like. It smells great. I know I've said that like 20 times. The flavor on it we've talked about, especially the first third of the bowl. It very much translates from the tin note. You get that sweet, mellow chocolate to vanilla and malty kind of taste. It's very light and approachable. The nicotine level on this blend is very minimal. Part of the term of original choice, I thought originally it might be that it was going to be maybe something like, early morning pipe or something like that. And it isn't at all. It's not in English at all. But it's probably something that an individual who is just starting to get into the world of doing pipes, this could be something that they could smoke. Very little nicotine. The tongue bite is less than some other MacBaren's that I've had. But it is there. But in the beginning, the flavors, that tin note very much. That's what you smell. That's what you taste. At about halfway through the bowl, it starts to transition to the tobacco. And that's one of the things that I like with this better than the Lane 1Q. The Lane 1Q was so strongly scented that for me, the tobacco never got to a point where it asserted itself. It sort of got to a point where it's butting heads with the tobacco. Starts to, as you get further down the bowl and the toppings begin to vaporize and lessen, and the tobacco gets a little stronger because it's filtered all of the smoke from above it, and you start to collect the condensation and whatnot. Oftentimes you can get that, you can get a stronger tobacco flavor as the bowl goes on. And what I've found with Lane 1Q is it never really quite did that. It was mostly the topping, but it got a little muddied as you went further in. With this particular one, because the topping is lighter and the tobacco flavors are always there a little bit, they do reassert themselves, or they do assert themselves at about halfway through the bowl. And as you get down to probably the bottom third of the bowl, really what you taste at that point is just the tobaccos. And you have those Virginias and a little bit of burley. The burley, I don't notice that sort of nutty or woody flavor that burley is known for. It mostly tastes like Virginias to me at that point. The Cavendish doesn't really add a lot. The burley probably is one of those things that helps to minimize the nicotine and the tongue bite. It gives you a little thicker a smoke, so that it's a little more satisfying as far as that goes. But mostly what you start to taste are the Virginias, and you have some of those really bright Virginias and some of the middle darkness and strengthness wise as far as that goes. And those, it's a nice mix as far as that goes. You've got a good tobacco flavor that asserts itself towards the last half of the bowl, and it's less about the aromatic at that point and more about the underlying tobacco, which sometimes you don't get with some aromatics because they're so heavily topped. Shouldn't be talking so much. My pipe's going out more. So overall, though, the strength of this is really quite low, quite mild. Looking at my notes in the corner here, and trying to make sure I touch base on all the things I usually try to talk about. Nicotine is very low. You just don't have any trouble with the nicotine on it. Tongue bite is minimal as well, and probably the burley helps with that too, because you get a little more smoke out of it with the burley in it. Probably less likely to puff on it at a really strong or fast cadence. And I must admit that's what I really like burley for. I don't like burley in and of itself on its own, or things that are really heavy with burley. This is mostly Virginia's, a little bit of the Cavendish, a little bit of the burley, and I really like what they've done with the mix here. It gives you a really nice tobacco flavor later on in the bowl. Nice balance with it. So my overall rating, which I think I'm going to have to change pretty soon, because mythically I used to use Early Morning Pipe as my mildest tobacco and Nightcap as the top end. And since Dunhill is kind of done with making that stuff, pretty soon that isn't going to mean much to most people, I guess. I would say that this is, oddly enough, this has a very much a dual personality. The beginning part of the bowl, the first half of the bowl, this is easily as mild as Early Morning Pipe, as light as any tobacco you would want to have. Very easygoing. Once you transition in that middle third of the bowl to the bottom of it, the last half of it, it's a little bit more full. Well, I don't want to say full flavor. It's a little more flavorful. It's still a mild, mellow mix, but numerically, if I'm going 1 to 10, 1 being Early Morning Pipe, the early part of the pipe is definitely around a 1. It's very light, and the aromatic toppings come through beautifully. Once you get into it a little bit more, it goes up a little. Not a lot, but a little. So I would say that's probably more around a 3, maybe a 4. Nothing all that strong. A little bit of spice, a little bit of those Virginias come through. It's yummy. It's just yummy. I love this blend. Everyone that I've given samples away to almost consistently comes back and says, wow, I really like this. They'd never hardly heard of it. I guess it's not that popular, probably because it is so mellow and so mild. People tend to want to do a little fuller bodied or a little bit more to it. But if you like Lane 1Q, and I know there's a lot of people out there who do, this should be something you try, because it's a little bit different. Like I said, Coke and Pepsi type thing. It's not a huge difference, but there's a subtle different take on how MacBaren has done their original choice, and I really like it. I really like it. It's a little bit lighter with the topping, that, like we talked about, that really gives you that ability to let the tobacco come through. So that's pretty much my review with that. I would say this is definitely a recommendation, one of my favorites right now, and it has been for a while, almost last probably 9 months or so. I've fallen in love with this. Every time I have somebody else try it, they're like, yeah, this is great. Flavor, the room note, tin note, it's all fantastic. It's really a great blend. So I'll put up, we'll do this in stereo, an older one before they put all the, the dopey warnings on it. MacBaren's Original Choice. Give it a try. I think you'll like it. And if you have any comments, let me know. Put it down in the, on the video here, and I'd be happy to try and get back to you. I'm getting better at responding. And happy smoking. I'll see you guys next time. Bye-bye.